health concerns more than ever, why don't you lean on M-Drive, elite testosterone and immune support. Go to mdriveformen.com, code HERD, 20% off. Refine your prime. So it's April Fool's Day today. I know most of you are not in a jokey mood. I totally understand that. Joe Taylor joining me. But it is April 1st, and we thought in Best for Last today, Joy, the most foolish trades in sports history. So I've said before, if your franchise is bad, it's often because your owner doesn't know what they're doing. And owners always finalize trades. So here are the most foolish trades on April Fool's Day. Number one, the Red Sox trade Babe Ruth to the Yankees. The Red Sox would go 86 years without a title, and the Yankees won 4 with Babe. But here's what's worse. They traded the best baseball player ever for $100,000 and a loan. That's because the owner of the Red Sox used the loan to finance musicals for his productions in New York. Changed the direction of those franchises forever. The Hornets trade Kobe Bryant to the Lakers. What did Charlotte get for him? Vlade Divac, who played 2 seasons for Charlotte. And the late Kobe's one of the great players in league history. Oh, here's another great one by an ownership group. 76ers acquired Dr. J. So they bought the Sixers in Philadelphia, at the time a very well-run franchise, bought Dr. J's contract for $3 million from and classic Knicks, they turned down Dr. J, who goes to the rival 76ers and wins an MVP. There's a championship, and he was an 11-time All-Star, and you could argue in the 70s was Steve Jones, Dr. J, Caldwell Jones, Steve Mix, I think it was. Was it Steve Jones or Bobby Jones? Billy Cunningham was the coach. It was a great time. How about Thunder trading James Harden to the Rockets? Here's what's weird about that. So they got a couple of first-round picks. They got Kevin Martin was a talented NBA player, and Jeremy Lamb, who didn't pan out. But the reason OKC really did it is because they wanted to avoid the luxury tax. But the luxury tax was going up that year anyway. So they probably could have wiggled around it and paid a very little luxury tax. And had James Harden, OKC eventually, of course, lost Harden, Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. That hurts. No titles. This is painful. Sonics trade Scottie Pippen to the Chicago Bulls. Most NBA diehards know that. The Bulls got Scottie Pippen, the 5th overall pick, for Olden Polynice. If the Seattle Sonics get Scottie Pippen with the players they had, Seattle still has an NBA franchise. Because Seattle's probably got a couple, 1 or 2. Yeah, I mean, they Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, and Scottie Pippen. Yeah, I'd say they win some titles. And this is the all-timer. The St. Louis Hawks traded Bill Russell to the Boston Celtics. Boston won 11 titles with Bill Russell. I mean, it was the Yankees and the Celtics are the first real dynasties, maybe Notre Dame football in American sports. So here's how it happened. Bill Russell was a second pick in the draft. The first pick belonged to the Rochester Royals. But Red Auerbach, the coach and GM of the Celtics, said, listen, I'll give you the Ice Capades for your ownership group. I'll give you the Ice Capades if you don't take Bill Russell first. And they ended up drafting not Bill Russell. They drafted, like Cliff Hagan, it says here. Celtics won 11 titles. By the way, Rochester would move to Cincinnati the following year. So musicals, ice capades, and the New York Knicks passed up on Dr. J. There's a lot of bad ones, but as I looked over the really, really bad decisions, it's owners have a real tie on this stuff. Because remember,
not a lot of vision there.
Not a lot of vision. It's funny that. So I grew up as an NBA fan, but I remember the ABA, and I never saw ABA games on TV. You just get occasional highlights or pictures or stuff. But Dr. J was like, and there were some good players in the ABA. There was like Artis Gilmore, Dan Issel was a very good player, but Dr. J was like this like crazy guy, like swooping, like a bird swooping and dunks and style, and it's like the Knicks in New York. Can you imagine how big Dr. J would have been in New York? Think about how big he was in Philadelphia. Like, he was the guy that I could argue Dr. J was the first guy. Like, I remember watching Laker games very early and Blazer games with Bill Walton. But Dr. J was the first player that was a highlight player. Like Jerry West was good. Gail Goodrich was good for the Lakers as a kid. But they weren't like, you couldn't wait. You'd see Dr. J like a highlight, and it was like he didn't look like anybody else. It was like nobody did that stuff. That didn't look like anybody else. Can you imagine how big he would have been in New York? Wow. So Bill Simmons came on earlier today for almost 30 minutes. We don't do that much, but now that we are in our radio studio, the show has a little more radio feel to it, and we have no games and no sports, right? We have a lot of good topics, but we don't have games. So I've been bringing on Bob Costas, Bill Simmons, Mark Cuban, Charles Barkley, put them on 20 minutes, 25 minutes, second hour, and just Mike Krzyzewski's in our second hour tomorrow. So we were talking, I'd interviewed Bill, and then at the very end, I talk about the Patriots, but I hadn't asked him about Tom Brady. And Bill said before he went, he said, wait, time out. You're good. Let's talk Brady here. So he talked about Brady leaving New England after all these years.
Why now? It's been 20 years. You have a chance to have one of the all-time iconic drafted by a team, finish your career with a team thing. Didn't you watch the reaction with Kobe in Los Angeles, how much he meant to people here because he stayed here the whole time and he settled here and all the connections he had? Like, what is better than that for a legacy? You're going to go to Tampa. You're going to play for Bruce Arians. You're going to have a bunch of 75-year-olds in the stands and a team with no history. Like, how do you do this? How is this how your career ends?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan quit in the prime of his career. That I didn't get. But when he quit and then went to the Wizards, that I really didn't get. But I think a lot of times for players, it's not really, sports is very unique. It'd be one thing like for me, if I ever retire and I'm like 68. Well, to be honest with you, I probably don't have the energy. I'm having 2-hour naps in the afternoon. I can only chew oatmeal. There are certain things that, like, you get to a point where physically your body is saying to you, hey, it's time to be over. But it's different in sports because athletes are often contemplating retirement at 32. At 32, I had so much energy. You feel a little bit bulletproof at 32. Like, even if you're a pro athlete, you may be an NBA player, but you got a bad knee, but you look around at society and you're bigger and you're stronger. You don't have any wrinkles yet. You feel like invincible. So for most people, when they contemplate retirement, your body's telling you it's beaten down, your back hurts, you're tired of the drive. You look at your retirement and you're like, I don't love the job anymore. My job is changing. I get where pro athletes are like, the money's great. I'm 36. Now, in Brady's case, it's 42, but he doesn't get hit much. Tom's had one injury in his career. Like, you get where Tom wakes up in the morning and is like, hey, listen, man, I had 4,000 yards last year with no receivers. I get where athletes are like, why would I retire? I mean, if they did an anti-aging pill, like if there was an anti-aging pill, and I could feel like this for the next 25 years, it doesn't matter if I'm 80. Why would I retire? If I felt like this, why would I retire? So athletes, it's hard to retire because generally you make that decision once the season's over. So a football player's not getting hit. He never feels better than like April. March, April. That's when Brady feels his very best. We had to make a decision March 15th. So March 15th, Tom is like, God, I'm sleeping great. I've got no aches and pains. I get it. It's a different dynamic with pro athletes, you know? You know how it is. If you're going to retire, there's going to be a physical component, Joy, to when you're done. Like, you'll be just tired of the drive, or you'll wake up one morning and you're like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, but I have a whole plan.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, eventually you have to transition in this business, you know? You have to evolve.
What's your plan? Is it secret?
No. I'm going to, get my own network one day and make shows for other people.
You'll be like Oprah.
Yeah.
All right. That's my
plan.
I'm not sure.
You can come to my house in Hawaii.
That's your other plan?
Well, a few of them.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, I'm all excited for that. Will be joining us tomorrow on a Thursday. I got to knock on wood here, folks. It's been 5, 10, 13 shows with no sports, and I'm just so proud of our team and our staff and Joy and everybody. I think we've been fairly entertaining. I know there's not a lot out there, but we've got Coach K tomorrow and a couple of rants I didn't get to today. So we hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for choosing us. In L.A., it's The Herd.